Hi friends, I guess this week we are talking about blind spots and culture. So for me, um, a blind spot is, um, I've lived in Wenatchee most of my life, so our town has had a big influx in the last 20 years of people who come here to work and people who come here to retire. So I sometimes feel like I'm not even in my own home because there's so many new people. So I have to talk to them if I'm going to preach about anywhere outside of the state of Washington. I haven't been back east, I've been in the south, um, but that's about it. So, and another blind spot for me is people of color. Wenatchee, purposely, when I was a kid, did not have any black people in it. Um, and at that time, the Hispanics were migrant workers. So um, I grew up in a white town, and so I still am surprised when I see a black person in town. We're now about 50% Hispanic, and I really enjoy that culture. Our town has done a really good job of integrating and becoming um, kind of a culture all our own. So those are my blind spots. Um, then let's see, an event for my church would be the Christmas Eve service we have every Christmas. Whenever the church was young, um, it's 15 years old, so they used to meet at the high school, and it was too much work that first Christmas Eve to pack everything up and set up, have a Christmas Eve service, tear it all down. So they decided to do a Christmas Eve service. They did it, um, the Eve. And what happened was everybody loved it. And so now we do this every year, and the people get to go to a Christmas service, and then they get to be home for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And for me, that tells me that they are willing to break tradition in order to make room for people to come to church, make room for people to come to the Lord, and make room for people to be home with their families. Let's see. And I know whenever our church moved into the building we're in now, that really changed our culture. When we were at the high school, people could just drop in. It was very casual. And we got a lot of people who were off the streets. But when we moved into a building, the whole dynamic changed. It was, how do we live in this building? What do we do? And then a couple years ago, when Sage Hills, another church in the valley, got a new pastor, all of a sudden we got 10 new families, and the giving tripled. But it was like overnight, from one Sunday to the next, you looked out and it was all retired people, gray hair, and they wanted tradition, what they had at Sage Hills. And we were a more contemporary church. We were not big on pomp and circumstance, but we really focused on relational. So there has been a lot of pushback as we've tried to negotiate this sudden change in our church. Funny thing is, the Sage Hills is contemporary now. They tore out all the carpet and painted the whole place black, and there's lots of lights and music and stuff, and they do what we do now, but those people are happy here. So the thing is, the culture of a church can change overnight, and then the pastor's struggling. Now what do I do? What happened? And so I think it's really important for us to be with our people, among them, listening to them, having meals with them, and knowing them well, so that we can navigate those cultural changes. So anyway, thanks. Have a great week. Bye.